Check, check. Good day to everybody. Welcome back to Perspective Practice for Intro to Art with Mr. Pash. We are now in our fourth installment for Perspective. And this is what we're going to work on today. Perspective number 4. And I called this one Extra because it's just some extra details and ways of creating space using the individual forms here, and just kind of lots of different ways we could do it. So it's just kind of like a mishmash of stuff that we can add here for our fourth practice page here. Tomorrow I'm going to assign the rough draft. I'm going to give you guys good amount of days to get that done. Probably not till next Tuesday here. So this is kind of what it will look like. We're going to jump up the minimum number of forms here to 15 for our final design. And if you guys do something really clean, you could most likely use your design for your final. All you would have to do is shade it in. So we'll talk about shading next week. Again, here's some examples of what this might look like. Also, these are in color. We might not be able to use color depending on what materials you have at home. And I put a link right up here in the top right hand corner, and this is a link to a Google Drive where I have more examples. So feel free to click on that link and look at some other examples here. And I think you guys might benefit from that. Okay, so just to kind of refresh the front page here. Again, I just, in the reminders that, sent out an announcement yesterday. There was a little glitch, or I should say a big glitch in the video yesterday where my screen stopped recording at the 20-minute mark. My voice still recorded, so it might have been a little confusing there, but missed the last part, and it was kind of the most difficult part. So I'm going to redo that today in today's tutorial. And for those of you that have not been turning in assignments, just a refresher, each day has a different video here which you guys should follow. They're all about 5 points. Not a lot of points each, but in total it's going to be about 30 points just for this week, including the rough draft. So you guys want to get some of that stuff in. Okay, so let's get started here. Just kind of go back yesterday. Here's pretty much where I left off. I'm going to switch back to black here. I was using green towards the end, and I'm hoping that wasn't the problem. I don't know why it would be, but I'm just going to switch back to gray just in case. So what we're looking at is the bottom forms here. Okay, if you can see my small cursor. And we got them hollow. They're empty. They look pretty good. They're just missing something. And what that is that these are really short. So we're probably going to see the bottom or back end of these. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay, so what we want to do is when we have really short volumes, you look at the back corner here, okay, to see where the corner is at, or just kind of look at the length of the sides here. Okay, two different ways. So when we look at the back corner, this is pretty much where the back edge is going to be, and we want to follow the same principles of being parallel. So if we bring back this back edge to follow the front edge, and I'm going to darken that up here, we see, okay, I'm going to draw like some transparent lines here, that it goes into the face, the opening of that form. And that's where we see the back edge actually come through. So we want to draw that in there, okay? So you can draw a nice light line if you need help. Like I'll do that on this side, okay? But make sure that you erase it, because again, these are solid, so that won't be seen anymore. Across that face. And that connecting line in the middle is now open, okay? So now what we have is a back end that shows through. All right, and you can either view that as a bottom to this or something that's open. So if like something was gonna go through it, like an arrow, kind of give us that illusion that coming in from the back through the front. Okay, let's go to the other triangle here. Okay, remember that this only works with really short volumes. We're going to look at the back corner here. We're going to also look at the length. And so you can judge that length here and really just kind of say, okay, I want the inside. The inside's probably about the same length. If we look at that visually, and that could work. You can see that the corners don't really match up. It doesn't match up to the corners, but if it's approximate, we can get away with it. In reality, if we really drew these parallel and we did it correct and lined up to the vanishing point, we would utilize these corners here. And that back line would be right about there. But either way, if it looks good and it looks like it could work, go ahead and use it. Okay. The problem is a lot of times people, like if you look at this top right cylinder up here, a lot of times people will want to do the hollow and they're like, oh, I'll just do the back. Okay. Well, in reality, the back is way back here. Okay. So that wouldn't really show through the front. So just be really mindful of that. Sometimes you can get away with it. Other times it just does not look realistic. All right, and for the circle here, what you want to do is follow the curve of the back end and really wrap that around, really light, okay? And you can see where that line shows through the inside of that hollow space. That's where you draw the line, and you got to do some erasing of those other lines here just to kind of clean it up. And that's what the hollow cylinder will look like. Okay, so again, empty. If we drew an arrow coming out the back, we'd skip that part and maybe it'd do something like that. The illusion of three-dimensional space. Now for the rectangles, again, you can look at the corner or you can look at the length. The corner will drop down. We're going to be parallel to the front edge here. It looks like it meets that line, and if we did the corner here, we notice that if we brought it across parallel pretty close, looks like they match up there, and it looks pretty approximate. So we're going to draw that in here and erase that connecting line and maybe other helpful marks that we've made. There we go, a nice empty solid. Now this one up here, it's a little tricky. What I would like to do on these ones, the sides get a little confusing because we get little slivers on these edges here. So again, these ones I like to just kind of judge how thick the space is on the top. Do the same thing for the bottom. Now where these corners meet here, draw a little darker lines. Those edges no longer run parallel or run towards the vanishing point. They run parallel to the sides right here. So it's just a slight angle, but we got to straighten those up. And that will look a lot more realistic there. Okay, so very small, slight slivers, but that's how we finish up those hollow pieces here. All right, so let's move forward to today's, and I'll create a nice blank space here and let's do a little review of what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to try to copy this page, so if you kind of get stuck and you can't figure out some new ones to do on your own, just feel free to copy what I have here. Okay, but what we're looking at here is segmented ones, which we did in some previous videos just for a second. We're going to continue with hollow volumes that we did yesterday and partly today. And we're going to put forms through it. And then we'll just look at making things hollow, maybe not in the front of the face, but the side or top. And then we'll talk about maybe utilizing some unique forms here. So let's look at that in final examples. Okay, you can see that in these examples, really breaking apart the triangular prism here. This would be a little bit more intense practice here, but just doing the front page, the front part right here and the bottom part, so they're utilizing both sides with hollow. And then we have the segmented ones here, so that's just utilizing the same perspective lines. And let's see, on this one here, this one to the left, they used all pretty much your basic forms, but on this side looks like they got a little bit more unique with some of the forms that they're using here. So same principles apply though. Parallel lines, making sure curves like this front part here are followed in the back edge. That looks pretty good. All right, so let's see if we can do some of that stuff. And we're going to start off with the vanishing point. Let's start off right in the middle. Let me make sure I have my brush. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm starting off right in the middle today, just to kind of make the space clean. But when you guys do your rough draft, I'm going to talk about maybe moving that vanishing point to other areas. Let's start off with the segmented volume here. So we're going to start off with the square or rectangle in the bottom left hand corner. We're going to connect that to the vanishing point all the way this time, because we're going to use those lines to make our other forms here. All right, and let's cut this off pretty short because I'm going to use that other space here. Remember, be parallel. Looks like you guys that are submitting your assignments thus far, it looks like you guys are really getting the first steps here, parallel lines. Okay, now what we're going to do with the segmented one is we're going to utilize these lines while we still have it, and we're going to create some space here. So we're going to overlap, and what we want to do is draw another face of a rectangle, and this one's going to be partly hidden. So just keep in mind, here's the bottom. Let's draw the bottom of the next one right here. Here's the side, parallel. Here's the top, let's darken that, parallel. Okay, and here's the left side, parallel, and we don't see it anymore. And so there's the face. Now these connecting lines are still there. If you want to at this time, just kind of erase those just so you can see it a little bit more. These connecting lines are no longer there. And basically we have a whole new rectangular prism here, and we can keep that all the way to the vanishing point, just a super long one, or you could choose to cut off again. Parallel to the right side, top edge, parallel to the front edge, and now we can cut that off if we need to. And let's do one that's not really overlapped, so we can create a new face maybe way back here. Just gonna keep that parallel. We're just gonna eyeball it there. And maybe we'll keep the rest there. And clean up these perspective marks. And kind of clean up these back lines here. A little shaky. We'll keep that all the way to the vanishing point. And that's your segment in volume. Let's do that for a cylinder. Okay, because the triangular prism is pretty much the same principles as the rectangular prisms, because you just follow straight edges. The cylinder is curved, so it's a little bit different. Okay. Cylinder all the way to the vanishing point. Really shaky on those lines. And let's cut this off right about here. Remember, keep that back edge really curved and flow that right in to those sidelines there. Remember, no angles, just keep those sides curved. All right, and basically if we just drew a series of circles, okay, they would get smaller and smaller and smaller as they recede to the vanishing point. And basically all of these can be the front of your new forms. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's overlap. And then we'll do one separate, just like we did with the rectangular prism. Sorry, rectangular form. And so let's say we want kind of, right about here. It's going to go behind. I would just draw a very light circle and just keep that same curve. Now where it overlaps here, that's going to be erased. We want that to go behind. So we'll erase that. Okay. And now as you can see, we pretty much have a cylinder that goes all the way back to the vanishing point. We could keep that, or we can disconnect at any distance point we want. We'll make this one a little bit longer. And we can even choose to make a new one that is not overlapped. And we'll have that one go all the way to the vanishing point just for fun. And what we have to do is erase these guiding lines that aren't really the edges anymore. And that includes right in here. All right. So those ones are pretty fun. It's kind of easy steps to follow for that one. Okay. All right. So let's do the forms in the hollow forms. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. You guys can kind of pause and slow down the video for this, but I'm going to go a little bit quicker just to save time on the video. So we're going to do an oval. I haven't really done any ovals. Ovals usually look a little bit better than perfectly round circles. So a lot of you guys like, oh, I can't do a circle. I'm telling you, do an oval. They look a lot better anyways. Okay. And we're going to do about medium to short because we want a form to go through this, and I like to have them like show out the back. Okay. Looks pretty good. And erase the connecting lines. Okay, remember, keep your mark making light. Can't stress that enough. It will be way easier for you for erasing. If you can see the lines, that's good enough. Super light. All right, so a couple ways we could do this. We could do another form that is like right on the inside, just like that. And we can connect those lines. We're going to connect the corners to the vanishing point, just like as before. Okay. And you guys can imagine that since this goes inside, this is a solid, so we don't really see the lines. So when you connect those lines, what you want to do is connect the lines, but stop there and continue from the back. Okay. And you guys can go all the way, but I like to have it kind of continue out the back because it really shows that it's going through it and it doesn't stop. And then where you cut off, remember, even though we have this in the middle and it might be a little bit long, that back edge is parallel to the front edge. Don't forget that. All right. So that's what it looks like, kind of right inside there. Looks pretty good. Let's do one that is a little bit more out in front. This one's the one that I just did is different than the example that I put on the Google slide, but I think you guys will get it. Let's do a triangular prism, and let's do a cylinder inside a triangular prism. Connect the lines here to the one point. Let's make it hollow. Obviously, if it's not hollow, the form cannot go through it. So it might look a little weird. Let's do it medium to short. We will erase those connecting lines. All right. Now, if we want something to kind of start out here and go through, just be conscious that obviously if it's bigger than the opening of what it's going to go through, it's probably not going to fit. And you don't want to do it out here because those perspective lines are not going to fit through. So kind of do it right in front and you should be okay. And do it to a size that's probably a little bit smaller. So, and this rectangle is a little bit flat, so I might not do a round circle. I might do something like a little flattish oval. Just kind of make more visual sense here. Notice that here's the opening, here's the opening. I'm going to fit that within that, and that should work. So I'm looking at the edges of my cylinder, and I am matching it up to the vanishing point with my ruler. I'm going to overlap that front edge. Whoops, let's see, a little out of perspective. Okay, and we got to take a look at that front edge. Obviously, the cylinder will overlap this right here. Okay, so it goes over the bottom edge, but underneath the top, which might be a little weird to explain, but looking at it, when we erase this part here, makes a lot more sense now. Looks solid. Okay, and we can cut off wherever we want. Again, I like to have it go all the way through. You judge where it's going to be cut off. And erase it from the vanishing point. Looks pretty good. So you can even choose to segment these as well. And I know this might be a little weird, but I'm just going to do it just because I feel like it. Let's see what a segment would look like. Start a new face right there. Can you guys see where I need to erase? Right here, those connecting lines. Okay, so you can easily just change the dynamic of that. So now that might look a little bit cooler. Okay, let's move on. I just wanted to illustrate the idea of hollow forms that aren't in front, because you might want to do something that might be on the top or the side, depending on which way you're looking at your paper. So I'm going to draw another rectangle here and disconnect the lines. So just to re-emphasize the first step to making it hollow. If I want to make this bottom hollow, inside parallel lines. Okay, that's the first step. So you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. If you can do these inside parallel lines, then your mind might go, okay, now I think I can figure this out. It's kind of like a little puzzle. So what are we going to see? We're going to see the inside lines here. Okay, and so again, we want to look at the corners to see where those edges are going to show. Obviously, we don't see these edges. Okay, but we might see the ones in the back. And they go straight down because they are parallel to the side edges. All right, and the thickness, you kind of want to look at the thickness of the front edge. Might be probably a little bit smaller because it's towards the back. And now those side edges will just run parallel to the top edges just like that. So sometimes on these you just see like a little sliver, so sometimes it gets really confusing. And of course we don't see these. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so depending, let's see what that might look like here. So there's the bottom edge, but you know, if we rotate the paper, now it looks like the side. So it just depends on what you're looking at, how you're looking at it. Okay, so just kind of keep it there. And let's do some last shapes here. I think you guys will have a better time with these. And that's just using some unique shapes. And I'm just going to add in a bean here, just kind of keep the idea of the curve. Okay, and we're going to curve towards the vanishing point. Okay, and maybe something like an L. Now, I like to, let's do it like pointed away so we can see the edges. So depending on how you place these will make a difference of what it looks like. And I'll show an example of that if we have time. So with the bean, just like the cylinder, we want to line up the edges. We don't have any corners to line up. That looks cool by itself. So just to make the point of the curve, where we cut this off, we follow the same curve. So it's kind of take your pencil and kind of follow that and do the same thing. Maybe just a little bit shorter. And remember, those curves flow right into those sidelines. No points or corners. Okay? That's what like the bean would look like. Now, to make the point of what the perspective of these, if we did a bean like this, okay, and we connected it to the vanishing point, we don't see those curves. It's basically just another curve here. Okay, so sometimes it won't matter. And that still looks pretty cool, but still it's, I mean, to cut it off is a little bit easier to see. Okay, and so with the L, we got to connect all the corners. So be careful if some of you guys are going to do like letters of your name, like K, lots of different corners here, or R, where you have a curve and corners. And just be careful with that. And so what we're going to do is make sure top, look at the top. Let's figure out where we're going to cut it off. Let's do it right about here for our distance. Top, parallel. Side, parallel. Top, bottom, parallel. Top or side, bottom, parallel. Okay, and all these edges stay in, and we disconnect the vanishing points. Okay, so just make sure that works there. Okay, now I'll just end it there. I think that should do. Yeah, I think that should work. We'll just kind of leave it there. Obviously, you know, if you rotate your shapes differently, you're going to get different lines and corners and edges that you're going to see. So it might look, the perspective might look different. But just stay close to the principle of being parallel to the front edge here. And again, if you guys have any questions or you want me to reinforce anything in an extra video, please let me know. I'm sure if a lot of people have questions, that means a lot more people have questions, and I can just add in another video for you guys. But hopefully that worked for you guys. We don't have any glitches today, and I will speak to you guys tomorrow. All right, take care.